So sir, আজি session to Bidyute lead kori loi jabo.
Sure.
And then I will follow.
We are live now. We can start.
Okay.
সকলোকে নমস্কাৰ আমাৰ ক্লাইমেট ডায়ালগ সিৰিজৰ আজি খণ্ডলৈ আজি আমি ডিসকাস কৰিম আসাম ফ্লাডস the need challenges and scopes of wider attention আৰু এইটো বিষয়ৰ ওপৰত আলোচনা কৰিবলৈ আমাৰ মাজত আজি আছে এজন খুবেই বিশেষ ব্যক্তি আমাৰ মাজত আছে আদিল হুছেইন ডাঙৰীয়া sir welcome to the platform.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so Adil Hussain Dangoria kami সকলোৱে চিনি পাওঁ কিন্তু আমাৰ নিয়ম ৰক্ষা কৰি মই চমুকে এটা introduction দি দিওঁ আৰম্ভণিতে so Adil Hussain actor Adil Hussain is from Goalpara তেখেতে গোৱালপাৰাতে স্কুলিং কৰে Goalpara Buniadi Bidyalay Goalpara Sainik school আৰু তাৰ পিছত Prithviram government higher secondary and multipurpose school Goalpara তেওঁ তাৰ পিছত Borooah College BA কৰিবলৈ যায় আৰু সেইখিনি সময়তে তেওঁ National School of Drama Delhi তাতে তেওঁ acting পঢ়িবলৈ যায় and then he got the Charles Wallace India Trust Fellowship to pursue higher education in acting at the Drama Studio London in London and he is, as we all know, he is known for his critically acclaimed performances in various international, national and regional cinema, theatre, TV serials and short films. And he has received many prestigious awards of international and national repute. Aru teo acting porhayo kebakono institute tar bhitorot lekhot lobologia institute hol National School of Drama, Film and Television Institute of India in Pune and Royal Conservatory of Performing Arts in the Hague and the Drama School Amsterdam. Aru tekhetor cinema বিষয়ে আমি জানো তেখেত পিছে আজি আমাৰ মাজত আছে একেবাৰে বেলেগ এটা কাৰণত তেখেতৰ লগত আমি অসমৰ বানপানীৰ ইস্যু যিটো লৈ পেলাই তেখেত যথেষ্ট খৰব সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াটো আৰু ব্যক্তিগতভাৱেও সেই বিষয়ে আমি আলোচনা আজি তেওঁৰ লগত কৰিম so without further ado welcome again আৰু স্যাৰ দুআষাৰ আপোনাৰ পৰা আৰম্ভণিতে আমি তাৰ পাছত আমাৰ প্ৰশ্নোত্তৰ খিতান আৰম্ভ কৰিম
নমস্কাৰ সবকে নমস্কাৰ জনাইছো প্ৰথমতে মই ক'ব বিচাৰিছো যে I'm no expert in flood neither I have any expertise on how to resolve it I look at it from a very very human point of view and human condition that I have myself suffered and my family and friends and people of Assam who I love so much that they are going through and certain things that I've read and not as I said that's not my field but concerns and being any aware citizen would do that I'm not a special person in that having said all that I also feel that it is a matter of all of us from Assam to be aware of, to participate in a conversation through which we could possibly get the right attention from different sectors, different parts of the society in order to find a kind of a solution from this suffering of numbers of not only people but animals and flora and fauna and loss of lives and loss of wealth for hundreds of years since my birth. I have seen that, so I'm glad to be part of it. And as I said that I'm not an expert at all, but since I look at it from a point of view of empathy, and that's my area of work.
Thank you for nicely putting Amar jitu a session to climate dialogue and way forward. Tate jitu apni college you were not an expert, but then the point is climate touches everybody whether you are an expert or not. Aru based on that Amar agor session bilakoto hoise agoloyo ami invite korim people from different background expertise in different backgrounds. So jitu kotha apuni kole je you look at it based on what you have experienced, what you have seen, or what you have gone through. So I think I would like to start right at that point. Je flood Goalpara. So how what do you mean when you said what you have experienced? Like how do you see Goalpara, people from Goalpara, তেওঁলোকে কেনেকে floodৰ লগত আগতে deal কৰিছিলে বা এতিয়া deal কৰে? Is there any significant difference that you have seen? Or yeah, I mean, what's your view about that, like then and now?
Well, I think the first thing which comes to my mind is that we are riding, on a makeshift raft made of banana trees when flood comes. And when we were kids, we had fun, not knowing the gravity of the situation, the loss of lives, but we took it as a sort of a festival. In fact, I remember our house, not fully drowned, but partially, because we have in Assam, in every small towns, that everybody has a pond at the back to have fish. And over flooding, the pond would, be filled with water, and then the fish that we had put in the pond would be everywhere in the town. And from there to slowly understanding the devastation that it creates, and people, those who have less resources to organize their lives again after the flood, their misery and their emotional, physical, economical misery that they go through, loss of lives, as I said. Those are the experiences I have. In fact, I remember when I was a part of a stand-up comedy group called Bhaya Mama. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. We did a particular performance based on flood, and which was hilarious, but at the same time very serious. So nowadays it's called stand-up comedy, but those words were not there then. We used to call ourselves a group who does political and social satire. So my team leader, we were 4 in the group. I was the youngest. I was 18, 19 years old. The oldest person, the team leader, Dhrubajit Kikhor Chaudhary, popularly known as Bhaya Mama, we did a program on flood. And so we used to say something like this, that, okay, let's, that Assamese people are the only people on the planet Earth who are like frogs, Bangornisina, and Ubosor Zati, Soma Panit Thake or Soma Matit Thake. Aru Soma Panit Thaka Avasthat, ami jeta haturi thaku ekeloge, Rabha, Garo, Miri, Misimi, Ohomia, tribal, all the people, we swim together and we exchange our views and exchange our ideas. And then as soon as we come to the land after the flood is over, we start fighting. So does the central government and the Assam government want us to fight all along, all throughout the year? If we stop flood, we should not stop flood. Flood should happen. I mean, we were doing the opposite. And we were the only tribe, like the frogs, who live 6 months in water and 6 months on land. And so this is a conspiracy to stop the flood by the governments, and we should definitely vehemently protest against it. So, and those were very popular performances across the state, and we got a lot of traction, and people become aware of it. But at the same time, as I said, that there was probably a lack of political will, or even Assamese people, as you all know, are soft-spoken. We are shy. We do not really. We have learned. We are very resilient. We have learned how to live our life, whatever we have, rather than what we could have. So these kind of attitude had made us very vulnerable toward all kinds of atrocities in so many ways. Then, of course, the Bhakha Andolan happened, and then the students' movement started. People started standing up and protesting against very sensitive issues like the existence of the Assamese culture and language, Ohomia Bhakha or Ohomia Jatir Karone. Then, of course, throughout the years, what I saw flood doing to us, and then lots of relief, material and the resources which was dispersed from the central government. I don't know how much it was. I don't know. I don't even remember the amount of money which was given to the surviving people of, survivors of flood, or to rehabilitate the flood victims. I don't know the amount, but most of it, as I know that, like most of it was, were not spent on the ground. And there was no attempt probably to find a solution which will last for some time at least, if not forever, but for some time. There were quick fixes, some dam, suppose one MP or an MLA would try to protect his or her village by putting a dam without understanding that dam might create another flood on the other side, or, on the other side of the bank, or on the same side, but on the other side of the same bank, without consulting experts, without understanding the macro, understanding the macro aspects of how river flows. And also that flood had been a natural occurrence as well, because we need the flood to revitalize the land, to replenish the land of Assam. But I keep saying that, that yes, we need that. A lot of people argue that no, flood is like, for example, in Kaziranga, flood has to happen. Yes.
I'll have to stop you here for a moment, because we'll go to the scientific aspect, and that part we will
we'll come later.
Yeah, we'll address this part. But I just wanted to ask you one thing, like jetia apuni kole je soma pani thake or soma mati thake Assamia jati to Bangor nisina. So, but you mentioned one thing, je he jikhini khomoy ami pani thaku, then we fight together despite being
no,
shy
opposite.
or soft.
Jikhini khomoy ami pani thaku, tetia ami monor adan prodan koru, bhava.
Yes. A fight in the sense fight the flood. Fight the flood. Not fight amongst us.
We become one.
We become one. So, is there anything that you noticed as a kid or as a grown-up during your days in Goalpara? Is there anything unique or remarkable observation that you had? Was there just sharing তেওঁলোকৰ মনৰ কথা দুখ বেদনা share কৰা? Now, were there any traditional fixes that you think can be or should be more scientifically researched?
I don't think so. No, I think everything was very ad hoc. Like sometime the flood will be on the other side of the town, but not in the town, like little in the outskirts. And there will be always people who would be helping, who would help regardless of which part of town you're in or which religion you belong to. Those things were not even there till recently. So there is a sense of unity which would dawn upon them, that people would come together, never mind the disagreements between the neighbors or neighborhoods, for example, so people would come together to help. And that had been there in Assam, probably in every human society. Not necessarily always, but at least as much as I know growing up in Assam. Like when I see this Khalsa, the Sikh NGO, they go everywhere to help. And there are certain people, those who have that mentality to go and help people. But there was no organized way or an organization who would help. There was always, everything was in ad hoc system.
Yes. So like right at that point, like there is no organized help to like fix or find a solution or address the issue in more scientific way. So
Yeah.
as somebody who has quite a bit of public attention, as a person who draws quite a bit of attention from the public, you like and somebody who advocates for the awareness of the flood. So how do you see like what you are trying to achieve by being vocal about the issue? Because we always discuss about the flood, but then as somebody who can actually make a change, I mean everybody can make a change, but you have some sort of public attention. So what you were trying to achieve here, being vocal about the issue?
I don't actually know, because it's like almost like helplessness, and it comes, and I and Papon had been always talking about it. Like, what can we do? I mean, my as I have already discussed it with Navonita, that I wish, or I wish I was an activist. I chose my swadharma. My swabhava is acting, and my swadharma is to go into the depth of acting. And acting, when I say the intent behind acting for me, which I had been looking for, that what is the real reason that I act, is to create empathy for characters that I play, no matter how bad the characters are, so-called, from the point of view of society. That's what drew me to acting, that I can live lives of people who are misunderstood, and maybe who are so-called bad or evil. And at the same time, everybody has a story behind why they do what they do. So that's my area of work. But when it comes to disasters like flood, when it comes to disaster like apathy, for example, of people in powerful positions, when it comes to that, I feel very frustrated for the simple reason that I can't do anything about it, actually go to the, so I suffered from a huge confusion, and to the point, torture in a way. I tortured myself to find out, am I doing any good by being an actor? Am I doing any good by practicing acting? Do I have better things to do in my life? So my acting teacher brought in my awareness about what acting does, and what its role in human society, the role of art. It elevates people's awareness, it elevates and gives them a finer perspective about who you are, what is the relationship between you and other people in the society, and country and universe at large. So when I see flood or disaster like that, and nobody doing anything about it, people are doing, not when I say nobody doing, it's a sweeping comment, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, we get
people
the
those who
sense.
are, people those who are in position to do something. And I see that very little effort, or effort which is very lukewarm. There is no concrete, substantial, visionary step that somebody is taking. That, okay, it happens every year. What am I doing being in this powerful position? I'm talking about I consider myself, as you are saying, I'm in a powerful position because people do listen to me. What am I doing? But those who have come to you to ask for votes, that they will be in powerful position and they would, hold these portfolios, who has promised to serve the country in those aspects, are they doing something which is worthwhile? Which is, some people probably are doing it. I don't know, but I don't see the result on the ground. I'm not judging them. I'm no one to judge them. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see the result. And that's the kind of, like, then I realized that I'm so helpless. That's why Papon and I discussed that, okay, now again, the time of the year has come where you have to tweet. He has an NGO. So some people call me from across the globe that, hey, we would like to give some money to the flood victims. Through whom should we go? And I point out few NGOs, those who are actually working on the ground, make sure that every penny is actually spent on the ground. So I call up Papon. Papon says, okay, my people are visiting, giving this. Don't give cash, send some things which are actually needed on the ground. Things like that. So That's all I can do. I think I can do as of now. You tell me, else I can.
Yeah. So actually, that's really wonderful. I think this is the whole purpose of this session. The issue, but subject. It's like it's connected to everybody's everyday life. So it's not necessarily only the scientists or politicians should talk
Yes.
and discuss,
Yes.
have a dialogue. We should have a dialogue with everyone. সেইটোৱে অন্য এটা purpose. In one of our past sessions, we invited homemakers, farmers, and we talked to them, to know the background. So, sir, মই আকৌ আগৰ বিদ্যুতৰ আৰম্ভণিৰ প্ৰশ্নটোলৈ উভতি যাব খুজিছো, যিহেতু আমি আপোনাৰ দেন এণ্ড নাওৰ পৰা আৰম্ভ কৰিছো, আৰু আমি জানো যে যদিও অসমত ফ্লাড আছে, কেইখনমান ডিষ্ট্ৰিক্ট লাইক হাইলি prone to flood, গোৱালপাৰা is one of them. So, apuni jetia describe korise je what we can summarize that eku change hua nai. We can also say the same things for other district as well. So, etia kotha to hol ei gutei khini samoyot apuni enekwa kiba observe korise neki je recently I had a discussion with someone, and then he said the person said that how the community is like moving from their traditional যিবিলাক খেতি বাতি আছে বা ব্যৱসায় আছে তাৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে বেলেগ বেলেগ কৰবালৈ মুভ কৰিছে, because of which they are losing their original that যিটো aesthetic থাকে বা যিটো lifestyle থাকে, and they are struggling, they have become the struggling people. So sir, গোৱালপাৰাত আপুনি তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিবা observe কৰিছে নেকি? Very remarkable যে এটা community এনেকুৱা কাম কৰি আছিলে, but because of flood they could not survive, and then they are like moving somewhere else. Now they have become like very struggling. Yeah.
Oh, no, unfortunately, Nobonita, I am not in a position to talk about it for the simple reason that I had been away from Assam more years than I lived in Assam since my childhood. So now I'm away from Assam from 1990s, like 33 years, is it? If my mathematics is correct. So I spent 27 years in Assam. So since from there is 33 years. And whenever I go home, mostly I spend time with my mom because she is elderly, and I haven't taken up that so seriously to find out what's going on because of the effect of the flood. I'm sure what you just said, that those things are happening. People would change their livelihood, their idea of living, their idea of connectedness with the land, the connected land. And it's not only the land, it's not the land is only land. Land is culture, land is food, land is song. Those are songs and dance and language and every sense of aesthetics and all kinds of things which are related to where you grew up, what business you did. And if you're in agriculture, all the rituals which are connected to agriculture, you are forsaken. The meaning of life, it becomes lesser for all these people, those who have lost their livelihood and moved on to do something else. So those are tragic. Those are very tragic things. And probably, I don't know, as I said, I'm not an anthropologist to even say that maybe it is the part of evolution that people go from one place to another place. Migration is constant, and intermigration which happens. People used to go to Europe, and then now they are coming back to India. So all kinds of things can be said and done. But what is not done for me is that people, those who are there, they're still suffering. People, those who are in position of power, they're still being apathetic. And I feel somehow that in this age of 21st century, when we are, India is, someone also said something, a counter argument against what I'm about to say, and he made sense also at the same time. But I'll say it nevertheless, that we are sending, spaceship to Mars. And a river which had been there for thousands of years, and 75 years after independence. And there are countries in the world that we are friends with. For example, Netherlands, where I lived, as you have mentioned, I lived and taught there. They have found a way to to make friends with the sea. They have reclaimed land from under the sea. The technological understanding of water bodies, understanding how to channelize water and use that as a resource instead of being a victim of the water itself. If we cannot use those wisdom and know-how and technology till today, then I think there is something not right about our approach, or we don't care enough of our people much. Otherwise, if there is a will, there is always a way. And it could be a very complex situation in Assam with the river, because Brahmaputra is not it's not just one river. It's a very, very specific river system. The river, the current and the size and the courses it takes during the flood, during the rainy season, it's very different. I completely understand than the sea. But I think somehow I deeply believe that we haven't cared enough for the people of Assam so that we find a solution for it. May not be permanent, but for some time at least, for next 50 years, for next 100 years, we could find a solution if we really put in our effort and brainstorm, bring these people from across the globe, those who have worked with water bodies of different kinds. Brainstorm, let them stay here for 2 years to actually see all the contributing river system which comes from different parts of Bhutan and Arunachal and Meghalaya and all that from Himalayas, and go to China and find out what's going on there and find a solution for it, and a solution which is environment friendly and which is good for the people of Assam and thus good for the world, because fresh water is slowly disappearing from the planet Earth. We will be fighting for water. There will be water wars, as I have read, and as much as I have read. As I said, I'm not a climate scientist or an expert at all, but some common sense and some common knowledge that I have access to. So we could do much better. I'm sure about it. We could do much better.
Yeah, I mean, what you said is true, but I mean, from a climate scientist's point of view, what we know now that these solutions may take some time,
Yes.
and I'm not denying the fact that if there is a will, there is a way. কিন্তু এই সলিউশন বিলাক যেতিয়া আমি কমন পাব্লিকলৈ লৈ যাওঁ টু মেক দেম আণ্ডাৰষ্টেণ্ড দ্য complexities of it. I mean, গোটেই scientific complexities we cannot convey, but এটা পৰ্যায়লৈকে আমি তেওঁলোকক কথাখিনি ক'ব পাৰোঁ আৰু we can ask them to focus on the right kind of issues so that they when they choose their leader, they can consider the fact that which leader is going to provide them with a better solution. But this question is not from choosing a leader point of view. I'm kind of deviating. What I wanted to ask is, a solution bilak manuhor taloi loi jabor karone in a more understandable way, and so apunar kunuba like, have you been contacted by anybody from the scientific community je ei kothakini ami publicly loi jabo lage so that it helps us to execute our plans? So enekwa dhoroner scientific community, because we know that you have been vocal about this issue, and we know that when you say something, probably more number of people will listen to it. So have you been contacted?
No. You are the first people from that community, I think, got in touch with me, and I'm very glad that you did. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that brings me to the next question. Je apuni jetu kole je you read some material which you had access to, or based on that jetu apuni buji paise je there are some solutions which can be researched or investigated about. So a content bilak like how understandable these scientific contents are as a common man. Like we are now
How
trying
simple,
to how
if we
simple or
can
how
see,
understandable is it as a common man? Like
or
আপুনি
what are the
কৰিব
sources,
খুজিছে?
sir?
Yeah, what are
More
the
question to
sources?
what are the sources? Like, do you come across some popular articles, or it's just newspaper,
Mostly that. Yes, mostly
popular
that.
articles or something like
Yes,
that?
articles about
Yes.
the
How do
water
you,
shortages and all that. Yeah,
right?
I mean,
And how,
Delhi has no water for that matter. You know, it comes from somewhere else. Bangalore is drying up, and Chennai is suffering from water crisis. So this is like common knowledge as well, I think.
Yeah, so in terms of attention, like how, are these popular, are even these popular articles? I mean, we know, being from the scientific community, we know that there is relatively less amount of research available in terms of river Brahmaputra. I mean,
Correct.
other river systems, probably you get more studies in the scientific research community. But in terms of popular article as well, like, do you get to read what you want to read, or you just have to satisfy with whatever you get?
Yeah, whatever I get. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, what we wanted to ask is, material bilak kiman available to you?
About specifically on Assam, I don't think much is available.
yeah, I think that's a very concerned point. I mean, যিখিনি last কোনোবা দুটামান sessionতো discuss কৰিছিলো,
Yes.
the scientific research কম আৰু popular article বিলাক
Popular articles are there, and
yes,
correct, you're right. There's
Yeah.
one person, I forgot his name. I have to look through my contact, who is from young professor on. I'm sorry, my memory is terrible, so forgive me for that. He sent me an article he wrote himself, and it sort of, as I said, it made sense to me because it might not make sense to you. But he's the one who explained how complex is the matter, how difficult it is, in order to have even a solution which is in near future. So I realized that it's not about, the government is not doing anything. It's not about blaming somebody or somebody who is sitting there. And so it is also the participation of the people. What I want to emphasize as well, Nobonita, maybe you have other questions, but I might forget about this. So let me say, and then we can go ahead with other questions. See, climate crisis and is a consequence of hundreds of things, probably more than that, I don't know. But what comes to my mind is that the way of life that we have adopted after the Industrial Revolution, I guess, and a lack of sensitivity toward the place, area, environment, nature as a whole, that we haven't been taught. Our education system is dry and sterile, and it is bereft of any wisdom. It has got knowledge system, but no wisdom in that. I'm a product of this particular system, but thankfully I had my peers, my father, my amazing teachers that I got later in my life. Otherwise, it's always about how to get a job, how to survive, how you can make a living, and that and very, very popularly said this, it's a cutthroat competition, and the metaphor itself is violent and it's astonishingly violent. People will cut your throat unless you do it first. So that is the attitude of the education system itself, that how you can get good marks and you can get a job. And we cannot blame the people. There's no question of blaming. We're finding a solution. I know nobody's blaming, but there is a tendency to blame. I have the same tendency to blame the other instead of pointing the finger at myself. You know what I mean? That we, in spite of the lack of wisdom and connectivity in the education system about us and nature. When I say nature, I am nature. I'm not part of nature. I am nature. I'm born from this soil. From all if you believe in evolutionary theory or the theory of the Savatar, doesn't matter. Come from there. Both the theories talk about almost the same thing, from Matsya, Varaha, and then from the amoeba to human beings. And we are nature. And how come our education system, which is a leftover of the British system, haven't, it is completely um, uh, to
missing the touch.
the fundamental to sensitize us, to make us a human being of greater, to who would appreciate greater values, who would appreciate the potential of who we can be, loving, empathetic, compassionate, not only to human beings but to all. So the crisis, I think, is see, this is, as I said, layman language, forgive me. The climate crisis is mostly probably because of a complete lack of understanding where we live. The system, the earth system, the living entity like earth, we have taken that as a source of creating wealth for our gratification. And that is due to the education system that we have in India and across the globe. So, and also the the consumerism that we have. We are still in India promoting that. We buy things and you have to sell things, and all the time it's there on your social media, or you can't even open your email, and everything is, everything is at the tip of your finger. The idea of opulence is, I think, one of the greatest reasons behind that we require resources. We like to gather things which we don't even need. So when you talk about when you just asked the previous question, this thing came to my mind, that what are people doing? And people don't know what to do because we haven't been taught what to do. So when you go to them, what will you tell them? That you're in crisis? Yes, you will find a way to tell them what. I'm not doubting your capability of what you're going to tell them. But it could sound foreign to them, an alien concept, that why should I have less if he can have more? Why should I have less? Like, on principle, I ride my bicycle, to go to to my shops in short distances. And on principle, I have less things in the house. On principle, I don't buy things which I don't need to, and make sure that I don't waste water, I don't waste things. So these austerity had been criticized. Austerity had been, minimalism is not a fashionable thing. Minimalism should become a glamorous thing, because you are contributing to the health of the planet that you live in, of Mother Earth. These things are not being taught in the school. And it's a long process. Like, you have to catch them young. Thankfully, our children, our son, he's now 13, he's talking about environment. So probably there is a ray of hope of this generation, those who are now in the kindergarten and all that. Anyway, I rambled. And
no, sir. Actually, মই আশা কৰিছো বিদ্যুৎ আৰু মই মানে বহুতখিনি আপোনাৰ কথাখিনিৰ লগত I am totally agree with that. আৰু আজি আপুনি কি জানি আমাৰ বহুকেইটা প্ৰশ্ন actually touch কৰিয়ে দিছে, মানে আপোনাৰ কথাখিনি।
So I was আপুনি যিটো মানে আপোনাৰ প্ৰথম কুৱেশ্যনটো এড্ৰেছ কৰোঁতে কৈছিলে, আপুনি যে ভায়া মামা এখন ড্ৰামা কৰিছিলে, where you were a part of that as well. Yes. So since we are talking about sensitizing the minds of people about taking care of Mother Earth, since movies has been like a medium to sensitize people, not in India, I mean globally, it's a form of art, so which is to sensitize people's minds. So during the moment when you felt helpless, enekwa eta thought ahise niki apunar je you want to make a movie highlighting the issue of flood?
See, this is again, you are almost hitting my point of weakness upon. I'm not a filmmaker as well. I act. That's all I can. That's all I can do a bit decently, and I'm doing it for last so many years. There are movies which are being made in on Assam, in Assamese, but at the same time, those are movies which are being made for a very small amount of money. They don't have money to promote. There are so many stories which can be made into movies, but I'm sure that it would help to create awareness. One of the ways, definitely. I would be very glad to be a part of a movie like that, but I'm not a writer, neither I'm a filmmaker. I'm being overrated quite often, that I have ideas about environment. People say I'm an underrated actor. I think I'm very overrated in terms of my craft of acting and also of my capability as otherwise as a so-called known person. That much I can do. I can be part of a film which is written well and which could possibly become sort of a beacon of hope.
Yeah, I mean, Nobonita aru moi cinema side hakote we have often discussed this issue. Jami Twister saisu, Day After Tomorrow saisu, Saint Andreas saisu. Like there are so many well-made movies with like a high amount of research done in the background on environmental issues and like natural disasters, just to make people aware about those issues. We often discuss the Homer Banpanir Homoisar Operat cinema. I mean, we have seen movies jot Banpani dekwaise, and we have seen the effects of those in different characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would definitely, I mean, we feel that it is definitely a way to make people aware. Karon Ohomia manu, mane Bharator manohe cinema sai, Ohomia manohe cinema sai. So, ekhon cinema jodi teneko bonoa hoy. Then, I mean, we are not telling that you are a filmmaker. We are not here to comment on your acting capabilities as well. Only thing is, we love the roles that you acted for. But but that's what we have felt, this very strong void in terms of movies on themed on natural disasters or things like flood or earthquake.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something.
It would be sorry, Namanita, tell me.
No, sir, go ahead. No, normally
what I'm saying.
forum chala mukoli kor question karone amar
Okay.
question okay. So we can continue for another like couple of minutes. Yes, sir, go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so the bitute jeto kotha kole je probably moi free joy goisilo ki jani mor aji internet olop eri hoy ase fluctuate kori ase. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes. So yes, sir, bitute jeto kotha kole je movie can be a strong medium aru probably ami eneka kon movie sabole bhal pam jot ki jani film fraternity with like proper scientific discussion ekhon film banai jot proper way kotha bilak olop simplify kori explain kora hoy. So we are coming towards the end of our session, sir. Aru yeah, we had seen you are using Twitter to create a buzz with the flood issue of Assam, and then apuni jitu kotha already koise that people around the world like getting in touch with you, ground level or manual help koribar karone. So sir, apunar apart from like acting as a like mediator towards the help sources and the people at the ground. So আপোনাৰ আৰু কিবা এনেকুৱা way forward আছে নেকি, মানে আপুনি কিবা ভাবিছে নেকি to create a flood awareness, or do you have any kind of suggestions or like any scope? Do you see any kind of scope, like, to advise Enajori particularly
No,
on this issue?
I don't think I'm in a position to advise, because what comes to me, I've already shared that I think it's deep-rooted ignorance amongst us. I'm not saying amongst people. I'm saying I'm included in that, of what is going to happen to the other or their children, in coming generations to come, rather, not coming generation. The selfishness of each of us needs to be addressed. I don't know how. I mean, yeah, films are one of the ways, powerful medium, if it is made well. The films is a craft which needs a good filmmaker to make a powerful film, which will be entertaining as well as deeply touching and moving and deep as well in terms of the content. Very difficult to find a filmmaker like that anywhere in the world, for that matter, not only in Assam or in India. Very difficult to find who would be truly empathetic toward the cause of flood in Assam, or climate crisis in general. The Hollywood movies that you named, those are well made in a way, craft-wise, but I don't find them deep at all. They're just disaster movies, most of them, and it just creates fear, and fear doesn't lead to always to some solution. It doesn't. It has to be enlightening. It has to be also simple, but not simplistic at the same time. They make it very simplistic. There's a disaster and all that happens, and then one hero comes and saves the world and all that nonsense. That's not the way to go, I think. It has to be very human, ordinary human, facing the situation and yet rising above the misery that human being is suffering, which is empowering the other who might find themselves in a very miserable condition. But the empowerment, self-empowerment, can happen by watching that film. That, oh, I can do this much, in spite of having just somehow, meet their and somehow they manage to meet their daily needs. There could be and like, for example, and it could be a great film on Jadhav Payeng, for example. You know what I mean? He's an ordinary man bringing one tree at a time, or 2 trees at a time, or whatever the amount he brought, and he created a forest. Or that's what I know. I haven't gone and seen it, but this is the story I know, and I believe that story. So stories like that, an ordinary man can do so much if you wish to. A film of that content, which could probably go international if it is made well, as I said. And there could be a possibility of that in terms of telling the stories, how we can do what about the environment crisis. And river is not the only problem. We have so many other environmental problems. Like, for example, the topsoil of most of India is destroyed, by the usage of all kinds of fertilizers and insecticide in the amount which are not prescribed. And like, I mean, I have lived 3.5 years on the river island in Tungabhadra in Karnataka. I don't know, many of you don't know about it. In a hut without electricity and running water for 3.5 years. I lived there and I've seen the disaster there. It's years after year after year. They have put fertilizers in such distorted amount that the topsoil is not working anymore. It doesn't work. They have to put more and more and more and more, and it crosses the limit, and that the poison goes into the food system, the rivers, you can't even have a bath in the Tungabhadra river, which you used to have, and it itches. All kinds of factory, what do you call them? The residues are being released in the river. So then what do? These are educated people, those who are running the factories, they are the entrepreneurs being celebrated, and they are polluting it. Now, what do you do with them? They are MBA degree holders, educated enough not to do such things, but greed and power and opulence, the greed for things. I don't know where to start. I think we have to go back to Hankordev or to the kind of austerity that he had, or Ramakrishna, or I don't know who will inspire them, Navanita. I feel sometimes very hopeless, but yet I'm optimistic because the current generation, as I have seen, a lot of young children are waking up to this crisis. Maybe it's too late, as a lot of your community people are saying. I don't know.
So actually, you
Yeah,
have already answered your questions. I will just take just 2 seconds. Couple of minutes before, you already answered that there are like a lot of gaps, loopholes. People are working, doing individually. Common people are not taken into account. They are not discussed. They are not asked, and
No.
and because of all these things, some people are like able to take advantage of the situation. যে যি কৰিব খুজিছে কৰিব পাৰিছে, because so it's all I mean তেতিয়াহে চিষ্টেমটো কাম কৰিব যেতিয়া আমি সবে এটা, আপুনি যেটো কথা কৈছে যে বানপানীৰ সময়ত সব মানুহ একেলগ হৈ যায়, সো আমি যেটো কথা কওঁ যে মাউখে উঠিলে ঘূৰি পৰৰ আৰু মৰণ নাই, সো আমি সেই যদি মাউখে মানে গুট মাৰা ঘূৰি পৰৰ বলটো হ'ব নোৱাৰো if we don't discuss with each other. You already also said that you are in a position when you talk, people at least listen to you. I mean, we cannot guarantee that they will obey, but that people at least listen to you.
They hear,
Yes,
some
but
of them.
no one from the scientific community ever asked you that, okay, you talk this thing on behalf of us or something like that. So is a loopholes bilak thake because of those like things are still able to keep happening. Yes, sorry.
yeah, no. I was about to tell the same thing, that jitu apni college, if is it, I don't know, if it is too late. So I mean, my personal opinion, it's not too late. I mean, we can always do something about it, but and the point is, we are talking about climate, not so which changes very slowly, and all our perceptions, traditions, clothing, fooding, everything has been shaped by climate, which was steady for thousands of years. But climate change is just 200 years. So you need to cope up with the climate based on your experience of 100 or 200 years, which is very difficult because you have been forming all those beliefs and traditions for thousands of years, and suddenly you have been told that you need to change them based on your experience of last 100 years. So that is where adaptations become very tricky, because you need to make people understand that even though it's 100 years, but the signals are strong, scientifically speaking. So we need to listen to them. It is not a natural variation. It is something which humans have made. And for that, I think that's the basic reason why we invited you today, because you have been vocal, and we need people like you to speak more scientific content with more like after having a dialogue with scientists and more knowledgeable experts, then you can convey, or you means I'm just taking you as a representative of the community. So then it becomes clear for the people, or the common people, that okay, we need to be patient, and this is what we need to listen to, and this is what we need to do. So I think that basically what you said sums up, or rightly put things in the perspective, that we need to make people aware about these things. We need to go for a longer solution, but at the same time make people patient as well. And when it comes to doing, So we have got a question or a comment or a request. I don't know. Melinda has sent a message that if Anajari takes a project to plant native plants in the shore, I think it is shore area, Melinda, if I am right. So
Riverbank. I meant riverbank. Yeah.
Riverbank.
Oh, riverbank. Could we count on your support? So Melinda has
Yes,
put it very
always,
concretely.
always. It depends upon how long, what is the advance notice you give me, because very occupied. I'm traveling across the country and globe for different projects, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we are coming towards the end. Theater sir যাব লাগিব সোনকালে.
Yes.
So yeah, with Melinda's question, Vidyut's wrap up thing, and yours the answer to Melinda's question. So probably we can just please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. That we can sum up this way: if we can take some project which makes sense and like dedicated towards the issue, probably you would be like to contribute within your capacity to us, right? So
Yes.
yes, I think that is a really great message for everyone involved with Anajori and for the people also, because we need people, who can speak, who can listen, who can understand everyone from different area.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was a very wonderful
Nice
session having you
conversation.
here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we need
Now
to.
this is a kind of fan moment, probably.
Please.
So
Thank you for inviting me, and I hope that you all are doing, amazing work and bringing awareness to the people of this situation. Sometimes I feel very frustrated that what's happening, and I'm also hopeful that what Vidyut said, that probably it's not that late. Hi, Milin, how are you doing?
Doing great. Good to have you over here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much. And as much as I can,
Sure.
I would love to be a part of it, as long as it is, as I said, that from my point of view, which is very human point of view, and it arises from deep empathy for people. And when we are ready to point fingers at ourselves, that is very important for me, because I realize that even my son doesn't listen to me when I point finger at him. So that mechanism doesn't work at all. Our parents, my father beat me up and made me listen to him, but that's the old school. It doesn't work anymore. They want reasons. They want to be spoken to politely, with empathy and deep respect as well at the same time. Yes, if something like that is there, I'm willing to be a part of it. Sure.
Yes.
great. Okay, so we need to wrap up finally.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you again for your time. We know you need to go somewhere, you told us.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you Nobonita for being a co-host. Thank you Anajuri for providing the platform. Thank you Melinda, and of course thank you sir for
very much.
for your time again.
All right.
So we are signing off for today.
You all
Thank you.
take care. All the best.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, sir.